Our next guest is an environmental microbiologist turned politician. He's also a lawyer and a lecturer. He ventured into elective office in 2011 as a PDP senator, and 4 years later, he was elected governor of Cross River State. He is currently serving his second term as an APC governor, and now he's seeking to clinch his party's presidential ticket. Professor Ben Ayade joins us tonight on the program. Your Excellency, thank you for sparing us your time tonight. Well, let's start from what a lot of Nigerians saw yesterday. You received your forms from so-called sons and daughters of Cross River State, ROI youths, and other interest groups across the country's 6 geopolitical zones. I'd just like to know, how were you able to rally them together to carry out such huge task?
Oh, it's very simple. I have a long-standing history as governor. When I was expanding my government, I ensured that all ethnic nationalities were brought on board in my government. Arewa Youth, my legal advisor, is from Kano State. The man who is in charge of my internal audit, Alhaji Rabilu, is from Katsina State. I have my head of media, who is an Igbo man. I have the person who is in charge of my religious activities, is Yoruba. I have all states and all ethnic groups are represented in my government. And so it's very easy for us to fellowship with their various constituents in their home states. And so it's no difficulty. And for some long time, I'm the highest financier of pilgrims to Mecca every year as governor, who is a Christian and from the southern part of Nigeria. And so I really have a large followership across the country. And this is my belief in the unity and oneness of Nigeria. So it wasn't difficult for me to actually rally all of these people together. More so that my chief of staff and Alhaji Sanusi were really on top of it, and Alhaji Aminu Bala were really on top of putting this together.
So what do you say then to those who say, well, all of these groups coming to pick forms and all of that, it's just, you know, those who are interested, the politicians like you, actually doing this by proxy. What do you say to them?
Well, I will confine my response to my circumstance. In my case, I never made any proxy contribution. Indeed, what has happened, it was an organic contribution from people who have, at one time or the other, maybe perhaps have a relationship with me. And of course, those who have watched my programs in the course of time, having seen my egalitarian, fair and balanced approach and my interest in the unity of this country, may have become interested in giving me support. But again, it may have applied in other circumstances, but certainly not in my circumstance.
Right. So let's talk about your ambition and the road ahead. So today is the final day for those who want to pick the forms. Tomorrow is a deadline for, submission. By the way, have you submitted?
I'm submitting tomorrow.
Tomorrow, just on the deadline date. Right. So the coming days will be quite interesting, really, because we're looking at how the APC will be able to cut down 28 aspirants. Is it going to be by, consensus, or they'll have to go through primaries? Don't forget that your primaries will be concluded just 2 days before the deadline by INEC. How confident are you, really, of clinching your party's ticket amidst, other aspirants? Let me just add that you are sort of a newcomer to the APC compared to some others. You just joined the party less than 2 years ago. So how confident are you?
I'm extremely confident on the superabundance and audacity of my achievements and accomplishments. So I know politics doesn't classify capacity as an essential tool. Obviously, because the factors that gives you the proper candidacy or qualifications that will make you a competent and capable politician or leader are the same things that disqualify you and make you unsuitable for picking up ticket. In other words, the stronger you are, the weaker you are in actual fact in politics. But I've seen that APC might present a different story. So my calculation and my confidence is originating from the fact that APC will want to present a candidate who will be able to unite this nation. And I have credentials to demonstrate that I have the goodness and fairness of heart to unite this nation. For example, all Southern governors took a decision to put a ban to open grazing and to sign the bill of open grazing, banning open grazing, signing it into law. And I said I was not going to illegitimize a legitimate trade of a people, and I refused to sign that law. I did so because I believed that it was inappropriate to decide that herders should have no access to the green pastures in the southern part of the country, when we know that during the dry seasons, these people have to migrate to be able to sustain their cattle. I did so not because my father or my people are headsmen, but I just think that that is what is right, and that they have right as Nigerians to go wherever they choose to go. Rather, I also knew that it was wrong for the farmers' crops to be eaten by these cattle. So I did a balancing law that was sensitive to the concerns of the farmers, while not also closing the fundamental rights of herders to have access to pasture. That showed clearly that I care about this nation, and I believe in the unity and oneness of this country. Two, when the issue of pasture became critical, I decided on my own as a professor of science to start some research works, and came out with a cane grass, which grows into maturity in 45 days and starts regenerating every 15 days. So the more you cut, the faster it grows, to be able to produce a rice system that can guarantee pasture. I have also employed and engaged a lot of people. The Bakassi Deep Sea Port with the superhighway is to empty into northern Nigeria, to be able to create an evacuation corridor for the vast natural huge resources and the agricultural wealth of northern Nigeria. And so for everything I do, trying to bring Atlantic Ocean close to northern Nigeria, for me, I have done what I can to ensure that north and south see a harmony, have an embrace. So these credentials will speak for me strongly as somebody who believes in uniting this nation, which is the biggest challenge of this country at this time.
Well, haven't spoken about your credentials, at least part of it. I would also go back to that point about what goes on within your parties, or your party in this case. Would you, in any case, be stepping down if your party says, we're going the way of consensus, we have a candidate which we think, well, will carry us through all the way? Would you step down in any scenario?
The scenario where the party creates a very classical elucidation of the basis and selection criteria that I find completely adequate, I will have no objection. I'm a team player and I don't have any qualms with that. But I must see that it is fair, it's balanced, it's transparent. And I know that capacity will be one of the key factors in consideration. I've had a very, very robust private experience in my private oil and gas business. I've been a lecturer and a professor in a university. And I've been a lawmaker as a senator. I'm a lawyer, and now an executive governor. I have traversed walls, and as executive governor, I've done the longest dual carriage road in any governor's history. I pride myself. I have almost 30 factories to my credit. No governor has built the quantity of factories I've built in this country. And so I wouldn't know what selection process that will exclude me. And with all humility, I have almost 7 degrees to my credit. So I'm balanced, well, properly educated, very civilized, and very humane, coming from a very poor background, highly weaponized by my childhood poverty, and highly informed by my education. I have all it takes.
If we could just backtrack a bit, I mean, let's step this down. What did you mean by the classical elucidation? I didn't quite get those terms. I know you're used to terms like that, but what did you mean exactly?
I mean that if the basis for narrowing down to somebody on a consensus basis, and I don't happen to be the one, I need to understand the basis, the selection criteria, to elucidate, to explain, to break down to me how they arrived at Mr. A and not B. And that if I feel that that is a fair process, of course, I will yield to the supremacy of the party.
All right. So let's talk about some of your plans for Nigeria, because, I mean, that's a big picture for everyone. And I mean, you know the problems, you know the challenges we're faced with as a nation. What, for you, is the biggest issue we need to resolve in Nigeria as at today?
Security. Above education, above unemployment, at the heart of the challenge of this nation today is security. And after security comes employment. After that comes power. Then you get to education. But fix the security, fix power, and all other things would align. Security is the fundamental challenge of this nation at this time. We are at the threat of almost breaking this nation. The northern part of this country could have faced a more cataclysmic situation, because with the collapse of Afghanistan, giving room to the free movement of ISIS and ISWAP, it then means that the northern part of Nigeria, and as they ingress downwards, the deliberate effort, but this Islamic State of West African province, who believe that West Africa is their God-given province, and that the Christians and the Muslims alike who are resident in Nigeria today are all infidels, because the Muslims in Nigeria have Western education, which is not part of their philosophy, that all of this needs to be wiped out for their occupation. And having a whole country like Afghanistan under their control, with the opportunity for them to produce hard drugs and sell as a source of foreign exchange earning, and cheap access to arms from Pakistan and India, then the target is to collapse Nigeria. And this is being exacerbated by the international community that are also funding and equipping young terrorists from Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, and the rest to come
Well, Your Excellency, there will always be questions, pardon me, about what we have done with this information. You seem to have, I mean, all of this information, quite extensive, I must add. And for a lot of Nigerians, they're hearing this for the first time. But there will always be questions as to what we have done with that, you know, retinue, that rich information which we have.
Now, what we have done up to this moment is a direct contact warfare, a manual effort to stop their ingress into Nigeria. But what we really need to do is to go digital and to develop an international partnership in terms of the level of intelligence and non-occupation defense pact. If a small Cameroon can have a defense pact with France, and today have sufficient Apache helicopters that can bring down our aircraft, have anti-tank missiles stationed in Cameroon, Nigeria can't even prosecute a war against Cameroon. So here is a situation where Nigeria needs to have a non-occupation defense pact. Non-occupation means we don't give them a territory for them to occupy, but to share intelligence with us, to share a non-contact warfare, like the use of drones and technology. If we don't adapt technology and decide to stay on the manual methods of warfare, you will always have a challenge. So I think that Nigeria has a core responsibility to review her foreign policy from this non-aligned status to strategic alignment, right, particularly with nations who are themselves not having a direct interest on the mineral resource base of our country. I always give an example of Turkey. I give it for those who are Muslims, and I give another example, Israel, those who are Christians. Any one of these two countries have not invested directly in a destabilization of Nigeria in order to access our rich mineral belts, like all these, our tantalite belt, coltan, platinum, gold, titanium, and the list is endless. But as far as people show interest and international communities decide that anywhere there's wealth in West Africa, or in Africa as it were, it should become a source of pain and agony. And
I'm sorry, pardon me to cut in. Did you say they have invested extensively in the destabilization?
Yes. And
do you have proof of all of this?
You see those young people who come on bikes into Nigeria and kill and go, they are paid $120 a week. Their responsibility is to kill.
You have proof of this, Your Excellency?
Of course. I'm even speaking beyond what I should speak in security. When I become president of Nigeria, I know the countries to engage to put an end to this. It's deliberate.
You know, another form of engagement, really. Yes, there's a kinetic aspect to technology, but there's also what we can call it non-kinetic, as it is said. And that talks about the economic indices of a nation. Talk about human capital development, education, employment, for example. You have overseen a state which has the third highest unemployment rate in Nigeria. As at the last time, Cross River had 53.65 unemployment rate. That's way higher than the national average. So Coming from that experience, really, what can you then do in a nation of 200 million when, for your state, the unemployment rate was over 50?
I ask you a question. When was that statistics? From a This Day newspaper. When was it established? I think you're talking about many, many years ago. I've investigated that statistics. If I ask you a question, what's the population of Cross River? Please answer me. What's the population of Cross River?
This is an NBS figure. Do you have an alternative figure? What is the unemployment rate?
Of course I do.
So what is your unemployment rate?
One of the greatest challenges of our times is throwing up statistics and data without proper study.
Okay, so tell us, what is your unemployment rate?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I give you the analogy to give you the figure. I came into a state that had 35 years embargo on employment. I lifted the embargo. I did 5,000 jobs for new teachers. I opened up suburb and created non-teaching staff, 2,500. I brought in a large number of people who were adjunct staff. I converted them to permanent staff. The whole of water board, I brought them back on the CRGIS. I got them in as staff of the ministry. And above all, opened up the Teachers Continuous Training Institute. Then created 18,000 jobs through the facilitation of appointments into government. The statistics dropped dramatically to about 32%. And so for somebody to come and present 53%
you're saying that your unemployment
to me,
rate is less than the national average?
Yes, of course it's less. Because if you come to Cross River State, I don't know of any young man who is not engaged in one way or the other. With the construction and fabrication
really love to see that data, Your Excellency, and clearly this is an ongoing conversation. So I'm hoping that the next time we speak, at least we'll have access to that data. Quite a number of issues
I will not wait for the
on.
next time. I will send my state statistician to come before you and present you the statistics of our state.
We look forward to that. But at this point, we have to anchor. It's always quite interesting speaking with you on issues of national development. But hopefully we'll do this another time.
This is too short.
But we have to run now. I know, that's how time flies.
My stomach is full to tell Nigerians what I can do differently.
Well, we have the coming days to do that. But we have to run now.
Will.
And we'll have to thank you, as always, for joining us.
But you are a very smooth person.
For Nigeria.
Thank you.
Professor Ben Ayade is the governor of Cross River State, and he is vying for the #1 seat in the nation. Thank you again, Your Excellency. Well, that has been the show for tonight. Time is not always our friend, but we're back tomorrow. So please stay with us on Channels Television, your home for the news. I'm Ayade. Good night.